Hello everyone, my name is Sadik and welcome to my YouTube channel Legal Eagle. Today we are going to understand what's Article 12 under Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. But let us recall what we studied in last video. In last video we read about Part 3 of the Indian Constitution, which deals with fundamental rights, which starts from Article 12 to Article 35. Now a very important thing about fundamental rights are they are justiciable. What do you mean by justiciable? It means that you can approach the court and you can enforce fundamental rights against state. You can ask the court to enforce your fundamental rights. But in contradiction to DPSP, which are non-justiciable. That means if the state is not fulfilling its DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy, which is Part 4 of the Indian Constitution, then you cannot approach the court and say that please issue writ to enforce the DPSP. Okay. In this video, we will study in detail about Article 12, which defines state. Now, fundamental rights are enforced through writs, okay, and a writ can be issued only against state. So it is very important to know the definition of state because it is the state who has the duty to protect your fundamental rights. So what consists of state? In Article 12, it has been stated the state consists of government and Parliament of India, government and legislature of state, the executive and other authorities within the territory of India or under the control of the central government. What consists of state? Parliament of India means Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha. The legislature of state means the Vidhan Sabha or the Vidhan Parishad. Executive means executive. We know cabinet ministers, the president. These are defined under Article 12 as state. But it has another word known as other authorities. Now these other authorities can include a lot of things like panchayat, the local municipal bodies. So this was not clear that what consists of other authorities. So as the cases came up in the Supreme Court or the other various high courts of India, then the Supreme Court of the courts came out with what consists of other authorities. They came out with a solution. Before moving on to what consists of other authorities, we know that Parliament, the executive, the legislature consist of state. But the question was, is judiciary a part of state? So now you will ask, is judiciary a part of state? Can judiciary take away or abridge your fundamental rights? It has been decided through various cases that judiciary, when performing judicial function, is not state. It cannot take away your fundamental rights and hence it is not state when it is performing its judicial function. But when it is performing administrative function, then we can say that judiciary can be a state, and if in that scenario your fundamental rights are infringed, then you can approach the court and ask for remedy. And the court may issue writs to enforce your fundamental rights. In Riju Prasad Sharma versus State of Assam, it was finally decided that when judiciary is performing a judicial function, it is not state, but when it is performing an administrative function like courts performs various administrative functions like conducting of examination for judicial services and other internal aspects of the judiciary. So in that scenario, when the judiciary is performing administrative function, then it can be held that judiciary is state. Now coming to the other hand, what are other authorities and local and other authorities? Under General Clauses Act, Section 3 Clause 31 of General Clauses Act, it defines that local authority shall mean the municipal community, district board, body of commissioners or other authority legally entitled or interested by the government within the control or management of municipal or local fund. Other authorities are not defined in any place in the Constitution. So we have to look into various case laws to get to understand that what are other authorities. So first case which comes into picture is University of Madras versus Shantabai. In this case, the court applied the concept of adjusdem generis. What is adjusdem generis? Adjusdem generis is we should read the entire Article 12 and make out that what can relate it to the different words and make out that okay, if there is a government of India and Parliament of India, the government of state and the legislature of state, the executive. So local and other authorities would mean some of the other thing in the same way. Okay. So first case was, if you can The court applied the concept of ejusdem generis, which means that it can only mean other authorities exercising governmental functions. Ejusdem generis is a Latin which means of the same kind. When a law lists classes of person or things, this concept is used to clarify such a list. For example, if it is written car, jeep, rickshaw, bus, motorcycle, it means that the other motor vehicles are also included. So in Article 12, if it's written Government of India and Parliament, Government of the state and the state legislature and the executive. So local and other authorities would mean that authorities which have some governmental function. In this case, State of Madras versus Shantabai, it was held that university is not a state body, and hence if it violate a fundamental right, then there can be no remedy under Article 32 because it is a private body and does not come under the definition of state. The second case which comes up for consideration is Ujjambai versus State of UP. In this case, it was held that the rule of which was applied in State of Madras versus Shantabai cannot be applied to Article 12. This rule cannot be applied to Article 12 as there is no common genus running through each and every word which is given in Article 12. Like, as to repeat, the Government of India and the Parliament of India, the Government of the state and the legislature of state, and all local and other authorities. So the court held that there is no common genus running through like bike, motorcycle, car. We all know that this comes under class of motor vehicles which run on the road. But local and other authorities is not clear point regarding what consists of local and other authorities. And in Ujjambai versus State of UP, the court held that the ejusdem generis cannot be applied to Article 12. As we understand through State of Madras versus Shantabai and Ujjambai versus State of UP, that there is no clear-cut definition about state till now, like what consists of local and other authorities, and local authorities. So the confusion kept on, and another case, Rajasthan Electricity Board versus Mohanlal, came up for consideration. In this case, Rajasthan Electricity Board was made through a statute. It was a statutory body, and one Mohanlal contested that his fundamental right is violated by the maybe through some appointment. I don't remember the facts, but you should read the case. So his fundamental right was violated by the Rajasthan Electricity Board, and he went to the court to ask for remedy. It was held in this case, that state Rajasthan Electricity Board versus Mohanlal, that it is a body constituted under a statute, hence it will have the status of a state under Article 12. The conclusion we came out with this case, that all bodies which are statutory, which are made through a statute is made by law, those bodies will constitute state, like ONGC, these electricity boards, like NTPC, these kinds of PSUs, they are made under a statute, GAIL. Okay, so these kinds of authorities or bodies are made under statute, so they will come under the definition of state, as held in Rajasthan Electricity Board versus Mohanlal. It is a very landmark case. Came the Sukhdev Singh versus Bhagat Ram, in which is what held that ONGC, LIC, these are state. This other case, RD Shetty versus International Airport Authority, is a very important case law which mentions some points which are not exhaustive, they are only indicative, that if those points are covered in any authority or local body, then that will be considered as state. So the first point is the entire share capital is held by state, or where the financial assistance of state is so much to meet almost entire expenditure of the corporation. The state expenditure or the state fund received by the body is so much that the entire expenditure is managed by the state. Entire expenditure of the body is managed by that fund only. The third point is deep and pervasive control. What do you mean by deep and pervasive control? That the state has control over the directors, over the management, over the funds. So these are known as deep and pervasive control. Like it digs deep into the authority. Functions of the corporate is of public importance and closely related to governmental functions. And the fifth point is that the entire government corporation has been transferred to a private corporation. And the sixth point is that it enjoys state monopoly. So if these 6 points are covered, then we can say that the authority is a state under Article 12. But it has been also stated in this case that these are only exhaustive. There can be other factors which can prove that the authority is state. Same in Som Prakash Rekhi versus Union of India. It was held that Indian Petroleum Corporation and these corporations which perform public functions and closely related to governmental functions will come under the purview of state. In also Ajay Hasia versus Khalid Mujib. In Ajay Hasia versus Khalid Mujib, it was held that the Regional Engineering College, which was society under Jammu and Kashmir Registration of Societies Act, okay, are within the meaning of other authorities under Article 12. Court approved this test laid down in R.D. Shetty case on the basis of test held that the Regional Engineering College, Srinagar, is state under other authorities. Case Ajay Hasia versus held state under Article 12. Okay, in this case, state. A very important case which came up later on is Chandar Mohan Khanna versus NCERT. So we all know NCERT publishes book for CBSE board. So it was held that NCERT is not state as it does not perform any governmental function. Okay, there is no deep and pervasive control of the government. It is a publishing house, which is a private publishing house. It is not created under any statute. So in any way, the sixth point which was mentioned in R.D. Shetty does not apply to NCERT. So NCERT was held not to be state. It is also a very important question in entrance examination that does NCERT consist of state under Article 12? No, NCERT is not state under Article 12. In Zee Telefilms versus Union of India, 2005. In 2005, this case came up in which the question was whether BCCI is state or not. So in this case, it was held that BCCI is a body constituted under Societies Registration Act. BCCI means Board of Control of Cricket in India actually, the president of which is Jay Shah, the son of Home Minister Mr. Amit Shah. So the question was whether BCCI consists of state. So applying the rule of R.D. Shetty versus Airport Authority, it was held that BCCI is not state as there is no deep and pervasive control. It is a private body under Societies Registration Act. It is not made by statute. Okay. It does perform a public function. It broadcasts match of Team India, which is not actually an official team of India. It is actually a team of BCCI. So it was held that BCCI is not state under Article 12. I hope through all these case laws, in the end, we came to the conclusion that what bodies consist of state? Bodies which are made by statute, bodies which has deep and pervasive control of the government or the funds of the government. The entire fund of the government is received by that organization, or there is a state monopoly given by the government to that organization, or it performs public function and or functions closely related to the government. So those lists are given in the R.D. Shetty. If those categories are covered in that authority, then that authority will be state. But that list is not exhaustive. It can be some other points also. I hope this was clear about Article 12. If you have any queries, drop in the comment section. I'll be happy to help. Bye.